Hollywood's golden goddess was actually trapped in a nightmare, and the truth will shock you. You think you know Uma Thurman, the blonde bombshell from Pulp Fiction, the deadly assassin from Kill Bill, the face that launched 1,000 movie posters. But what happened behind the cameras was darker than any villain she ever fought on screen. This is the story of 5 men who broke Hollywood's most elegant star. Men who used their power not to lift her up but to tear her down. Men who turned her dreams into nightmares. Stay with me, because what you're about to learn will change how you see Hollywood forever. Uma Thurman wasn't born to be ordinary. Her mother was a supermodel painted by Salvador Dali himself. Her father, a brilliant Buddhist scholar at Harvard University. But being extraordinary in Hollywood can be dangerous. At just 15 years old, casting directors called her uncontrollable. They didn't want to tame her, they wanted to use that wildness. She was tall, striking, and too smart to fool easily. But smart doesn't always mean safe. Her first big break came with Dangerous Liaisons. Then Henry and June put her on the map. But it was Pulp Fiction that made her a legend. Remember that iconic scene? The sleek black bob, the bare feet, the white shirt, the overdose scene that had everyone talking. What you didn't see was what happened between takes. Uma was constantly asked to undress without warning. On one film set, she was forced into a nude scene surrounded by dozens of male crew members, who laughed as the cameras rolled. Her discomfort wasn't just ignored, it was entertainment. During one scene, a male co-star kissed her without permission. When she pulled away shocked, the director actually smiled and said, "Keep it. That's real." The camera that made her famous had become her prison. But this was just the beginning. The first real betrayal came from someone she trusted most. Someone she called her soulmate, Quentin Tarantino. Kill Bill was supposed to be Uma's comeback, her revenge fantasy, her chance to play the ultimate warrior. Instead, it nearly killed her. April 2002, Uma was 6 weeks pregnant. The scene required her to drive an old blue convertible down a dusty road in Mexico. But there was a problem. The car's brakes were faulty. The steering was loose. Uma knew it was dangerous. She begged Tarantino not to make her do it. "The car isn't safe," she told him. "I need this shot," he replied. She pleaded. She was pregnant. She was scared. The car was shaking just sitting still. But Tarantino wasn't listening. He was yelling, ordering, demanding she get in that death trap. So she did. The car flew down that gravel road like a missile. Uma lost control. The convertible smashed straight into a tree. Everything went black. When she woke up, blood was streaming from her knees. Her neck was twisted. Her legs wouldn't move properly. But here's the most shocking part. As the crew rushed to help her, Tarantino screamed, "Keep rolling. Don't cut." He wanted to film her real pain, her real terror, her real blood. At the hospital, doctors told her she had suffered permanent spinal damage. For 2 weeks they weren't sure if her baby would survive. When Uma asked for the crash footage, Harvey Weinstein's team refused. Technical difficulties, they claimed. Tarantino, the man she called her soulmate, said nothing. He chose Harvey Weinstein over her. The woman who trusted him with her life had been betrayed by the man who claimed to understand her soul. But Hollywood betrayal was nothing compared to what happened at home. Ethan Hawke, her co-star in Gattaca, her husband, the father of her daughter Maya. When they married in 1998, Hollywood called them the perfect couple. Uma stepped back from her career to focus on family. She wanted to be a good mother, a good wife. She trusted Ethan completely. Big mistake. One day, Uma found a text message on Ethan's phone. It was from their young nanny, the girl who watched their daughter while Uma was working. The message revealed everything. The nanny had been traveling with Ethan to film festivals, to premieres, to events Uma didn't even know about. While Uma was at home changing diapers and reading bedtime stories, her husband was parading around with their employee. It wasn't just an affair, it was public humiliation. Uma filed for divorce immediately. But Ethan wasn't done destroying her. At the 2004 Oscars, he walked the red carpet with the nanny, now his girlfriend. She was wearing a white gown almost identical to Uma's wedding dress. The cameras captured every moment. When reporters asked Ethan about his new relationship, he looked straight into the camera and said, "I've always believed I deserved someone who doesn't live in the past." Uma was watching at home with her daughter. Later in a quiet interview, Uma said, "I loved him so much I couldn't see the lies. I thought he was gentle. I thought he was poetry. But poetry doesn't always keep its promises." The man she married had become a stranger, who used their love story as a weapon against her. After her divorce, Uma wanted to rebuild. She wanted to return to acting stronger than ever. That's when she met the third man who would destroy her. Steve Bannon. Yes. That's Steve Bannon. Before he became a political nightmare, he was a Hollywood deal-maker. Uma had just finalized her divorce. She was vulnerable. She needed work. Bannon offered her a comeback role, a chance to rebuild her career. Uma signed the contract immediately. Then came the dinner invitation. Bannon invited her to discuss the project. But when Uma arrived, there was no director, no screenwriter, no business meeting. Just Bannon, alcohol and expectations. When Uma declined his invitation to his hotel suite, Bannon leaned in close and whispered, "You're not a queen anymore. You're just an investment I need to recoup." 3 days later, Uma's contract was cancelled. Her name was erased from posters, from trailers, from the film entirely. Then came the leaked email that revealed everything. She didn't sleep with the director. Cut her. Uma wasn't just replaced. She was discarded like garbage. When a man reduces you to an unpaid invoice, Uma later said, "You start to understand why some actresses disappeared forever." She vanished from Hollywood for 3 years. Not because she was weak, but because she was mourning. Mourning the version of herself that believed talent was enough. But the worst betrayal was still coming. Harvey Weinstein. The name that now makes your skin crawl. Back then he was untouchable. He was the king of Hollywood. He had produced Pulp Fiction. He called Uma his muse. She believed. In 1994, Weinstein invited Uma to London's Savoy Hotel to discuss a marketing campaign for one of her films. Uma arrived expecting a business meeting. Instead, she found Weinstein in a bathrobe. "You owe me for those legendary roles," he told her. Uma tried to leave. He blocked the door. She managed to escape, but the punishment was swift and brutal. 3 films dropped her without explanation. Directors stopped returning her calls. Scripts stopped arriving. Tarantino, who owed his career to Uma's performance in Pulp Fiction, said nothing. Uma began taking sedatives to sleep. She nearly dropped out of Kill Bill Vault. The man who claimed she was irreplaceable had systematically replaced her with silence and fear. Years later, when the Me Too movement exploded, Uma finally spoke publicly. "I don't just hate Harvey for what he did, I hate him for making me feel like discarded trash. And worst of all, for once believing he was my savior." Harvey Weinstein didn't just assault Uma. He tried to erase her from the industry she loved. The 5th and final betrayal came wrapped in the disguise of love. John Travolta. After Pulp Fiction, their on-screen chemistry was undeniable. He called her his goddess of light. Uma opened her heart to him. But Travolta didn't want a girlfriend. He wanted a possession. He told her what to wear. He read her scripts before he demanded to know where she was every moment of every day. When Uma went out without his permission, he raged. One night, Uma received flowers from a French director who wanted to work with her. Travolta found them. In complete silence, he tore apart every single petal, dropping them on the floor like confetti. Then he looked at Uma and said, "I don't need you to be happy. I need you to belong to me." That was the final straw. "I don't hate him for loving me," Uma later explained. "I hate that he loved me like I was something to trap in a glass box labeled private property." She left him. And slowly she left behind the need to please anyone else. 5 men. 5 betrayals. 5 scars that should have destroyed her. But they did. The Uma who had been bent to fit every director's vision was gone. In her place stood a woman who knew that survival wasn't silence. It was resistance. Uma disappeared from Hollywood for years. But she wasn't hiding. She was healing. She was learning. She was preparing. When she returned, everything was different. She started choosing roles that aligned with her truth, not her bank account. Shows like Suspicion and Super Pumped. Projects that told real stories about real people. Her daughter Maya Hawke is now one of Hollywood's most promising young actresses. But Uma doesn't guide her as a stage mom. She guides her as a survivor. Uma mentors young women quietly now. Her advice isn't found in magazines or red carpet interviews. Say no, she tells them. Say it early. Say it loud. Say it without apology. Because Uma learned the cost of saying yes too many times to too many men who smiled like friends but cut like enemies. Uma's story isn't just about one actress. It's about an entire system designed to break women down. Think about it. 5 different men. 5 different ways of using power to control and destroy. The director, who nearly killed her for a shot. The husband who humiliated her for his ego. The producer who erased her refusing him. The mogul who tried to own her through fear. The lover who wanted to cage her like a pet. This is Hollywood's dirty secret. Behind every glamorous photo, every red carpet smile, every award show speech, there are women fighting for their dignity, their safety, their right to exist as human beings instead of objects. Uma survived because she was strong enough to walk away, smart enough to recognize the patterns, brave enough to speak her truth. But how many others didn't make it? How many talented women disappeared because they couldn't fight back? How many stories will never be told? Today, Uma Thurman is no longer the bride from Kill Bill. She's not a victim. She's a survivor who walked through fire, not to be purified, but to burn down the lies. Hollywood tried to define her through roles, through romance, through rumors. They failed. Because now Uma is the one holding the script. And it's her story they can't rewrite. She rises not in revenge, but in reclamation. Every time she appears on screen now, it's a victory. Every time she speaks her truth, it's a weapon against the system that tried to silence her. The woman who was once called uncontrollable has finally learned to control her own narrative, and that's the most powerful thing any of us can do. Drop survived in the comments if you believe Uma's story deserves to be heard by everyone.